We always hear on the audio forums about this law of diminishing returns, this nebulous, somehow there's this magic price point and formula where as you spend beyond a certain point, performance diminishes. I'm here today to talk about comparing a $5,000 Rose DAC and streamer to a $9,000 Antipodes Audio K22 server. In fact, the review is specifically on that, and I'm going to be comparing it to this. And here's my response to people who think about this law of diminishing returns. You're wrong. So as you've been following the channel, we've done, I think we're up to almost 90 videos now. The channel was founded on a simple premise. I don't care what I read for reviews. I don't care what I read on forums. I don't care what I see in other videos. I am going to do my own testing, my own experimenting, my own listening to see what I hear and what I enjoy and what I like, and to not take what anybody else says as gospel. I'll give you a perfect example. One of the very first series of videos we did was a 4-video series on Ethernet switches and Ethernet cables. Reason being is I had read on the forums, oh, there's no difference or there's a huge difference. I get tired of reading what other people said. I got tired of the arguments. So I went out and I bought 15 or 16 different switches in prices from $30 to $150. And I tried almost 100 different combinations of those switches by themselves and mixed in amongst themselves. And I found out there was a huge difference. And I found out that there was also a difference when I started stacking the switches, certain switches from certain brands in certain orders. And I'll go one step further. I'm running a Telegartner M12 premium switch now, a very expensive switch. Up till now, it is the best, most organic switch I have ever heard. And even when you're looking at a switch that is 4 digits in price, running a triple combination of switches that come in at about $160 combined over by the wall, which is about 4 meters away from where this is, makes a noticeable improvement in sound. So where am I going with this? A couple of things. Today, we're going to be talking about the Antipodes Audio K22. And again, I reached a point that as my gear has upgraded, we've upgraded from the Klipsch La Scala speakers to now the fine F704s, the fine audio. We've got behind me here a VAC special edition integrated amp. We've got an Aqua La Scala tube-based DAC. We've upgraded to a Puritan from an AudioQuest. We've now got a Puritan power conditioner. That was a nice upgrade from the AudioQuest. We have a review coming up on that soon. And we're also going to have a series of videos coming up on vibration control, so stay tuned. I'm running the WellFloat platforms right now. We've got some beautiful Sound Chaos Vibra 68s from Switzerland. We're going to be trying those both under the Antipodes Audio and also speakers. And we've also got VibraPods. We're also going to be doing those under both the streamers, the DACs, and the speakers. And we're also going to be doing a cable shootout amongst stealth cables. You know, up till now, my reference favorite has been the Stealth Double Tune USB. These adjust and slide to your system so that you find where they reject the most noise and interference. Very audible difference. We're going to be trying the Antipodes Audio between a USB, between the AES EBU, and also what I have currently burning in right now is a Stealth coaxial. So we've got those videos that will be coming up very, very soon, featuring both the Antipodes, my DAC, and the speaker. So stay tuned for that. But now let's go back to what this video is about, which is the K22. In wanting to upgrade, there were three things that were really important to me. Obviously sound quality, but my preference for sound quality is something that is very organic sounding, very natural, very lifelike. I am not the ultimate detail chaser, although I certainly like to hear all of that information there. I don't want to go into the realm of it being analytical and hyper detailed and artificially spotlighted in the name of precision and detail. Typically when I hear the word detail and precision in audio, it makes me a little nervous. I prefer insight. I prefer naturalness. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love the Stealth audio cables. They give me all that insight without that hyper spotlighted detail that takes away from the musicality. So that was very important to me on a streamer. I wanted a streamer that actually had a backing. What do I mean by that? That has been around for a while, that clearly has got a presence in the marketplace, and that has got phenomenal customer support. You know, customer support is extremely important to me. There were other boutique, and I love boutique companies, companies that are not available at every store in the world, that really truly focus on the passion of the high end. That is my love in hi-fi audio. So I was happy with the smaller company, but that had to have a presence in the United States that if that I wasn't worried about if I bought it 6 months from now, would they be gone in the United States? Would I not be able to have any support? If I reached out to the company, do they even respond? That's a big one for me. You should try that someday. It's amazing how many companies don't even respond when you reach out to them. And then the third thing, and this is gonna sound, I think, probably a little different than what you were expecting, is ease of integration. I love my Aqua La Scala DAC. I think it's magnificent. And by the way, you put in NOS tubes and you take out the stock tubes, it's a significant jump up in sound and performance. Absolutely love this. So naturally, one of the things I looked at was their streamer. I looked at several other streamers that were really approaching that organicness and the naturalness that I liked. And I realized that there were kind of two divides in the streamer world. There's the companies like Rose, Orinder, Auralic that have their own app. That is what I gravitated towards. Easy to set up, ready to go, easy to go, good to go. And then there's also the ones that rely solely on third party. And unfortunately, many of the ones that I was interested in relied solely on third party. But when I would download the manuals to try and understand what was needed, it was, well, you need to download a couple of these softwares, you need to put them on your PC, doesn't really maybe not work with a Mac. And there was never any clarity on how you actually get it up and running. And I was always afraid of spending the kind of money and not being able to have easy integration. So those seem to be the two divides in terms of the streamers. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And so if I only relied on just the app-based companies, my field was very narrow. So as I started to look and I started to talk to other people in the industry and friends and people I respected, one name kept coming up. And when I would Google it, it had the online presence to back it up. And that is Antipodes Audio. They are down way, way far away in New Zealand. And I found a couple of things that I thought was interesting. One of the people who is one of the groups I belong to, whom I like his opinion very much, he said, Michael, this is so organic. It is so lifelike sounding. The other thing is the amount of online presence and customer service. They have their own forum. Every single time somebody would raise a question, you'd get a response immediately from the company. I actually tried emailing the company. They responded immediately. They answered all my questions. So now I know that a company that's been around a while, that has got phenomenal customer support, and not only that, but continually upgrading the product and talking to people about that and always moving that needle forward, not only just in hardware. Like the K22 has been upgraded. I think it was upgraded, we're the end of 2023 now. I think it was upgraded about 2 or 3 months ago. But also in software. But they went one step further. Not only can you, if you have an issue, go right on the website, click a button, you book a time, they log into your system, they'll take care of it for you. But the other thing that really intrigued me was they're kind of a hybrid. Remember I said there was, from what I had discovered, in my opinion, 2 pillars. Our homemade app and third party, you're on your own. Good luck. That's a big one for me, guys. I don't use Roon. I know most of the world uses Roon. It's got a very good UI, probably the best UI in the world. But regardless of what system I have ever listened to, regardless of price, and my true ultra high-end friends all have the same conclusion. Roon never sounds as good as other options. At the end of the day, Roon doesn't sound as good as the other options. You're welcome to disagree with that. It's a personal opinion. More power to you. Roon for me was off the table. In the hierarchy of products, you have the K21, the 22, the 41, the 50, and the Eladra, I think is how it's pronounced. And each one offers different options and performance and things of that nature. What I liked about the K22 is it gives me the USB, it gives me the AES, it gives me all the digital inputs, it's got the reclocker, it's got all that. It allows me to add the K41 server. This is a medium power, what they call a medium power unit, a high power K41 server, and then that will give me the performance of their higher K50 if I ever chose to upgrade. But what I liked about the Antipodes is that, and I'm gonna put pictures of it up on the screen now. Guys, you plug it in, there's a drop-down menu. It sees the streamer on your network. You tell it, what do I want? Do I want to run Squeeze? Do I want to run Roon? Do I want to run HQ Player? What do I want to run? You choose what you want to run. It scans your system, and then you hit play on the player side, and you're done. It's ready to go. It could not have been easier. I had problems getting this unit to play on my network. Reached out on the online, booked an appointment. I only had to wait a couple hours to get an appointment. Mark hops online, we're talking, he looks and he says, oh, I see what the problem is. The problem was actually my ISP with the way they were blocking ports and this and that. 5-10 minutes, done, fixed. He gave me an overview of how to use things. We plugged in my Spotify, my Tidal, my Qobuz, everything ready to go. So that to me was actually, I appreciate that opportunity to see that I was right about they really do back up their customers. They really do care about the support. That's why I want the support. That's why I want the service, because I'm an audiophile, guys. I'm not here to play with server settings and setups and this and that. I just want to play music and listen and have fun making videos. That's what it's all about for me. On the Rose, they have a lot of software updates, but they're really unstable. It is not the most intuitive app. It consistently hangs up. And if I press play on the Rose, now by the way, there's a lot of things about the Rose I love. This is not an anti-Rose video. There are a lot of neat features. I think it's fantastic. The display is gorgeous. You got the radio, you got the VU meters, you got all that. At the end of the day, I ended up turning all that off anyway, just to get that little better better sound quality. But if I pressed play on the Rose to burn in, it would typically go anywhere from 5 to 15 songs or so, and then it would always stop. It would always lose a connection, or it would always just freeze up. And it was a royal pain in the butt. With Squeeze and the Antipodes, I pressed play. It'll go for days straight. No problem. It just plays. There's never a hiccup. There's never an issue. It never freezes on me. It's just extremely stable and easy to use, which I love. If you listen to the Rose as a pure streamer and then the Antipodes, if you take a step back and you just listen to it overall, like you're at a party and you're not really paying attention to it, they're going to sound similar. They both have a very open, expansive sound stage. They sound fairly wide and deep. And at the surface level, it can almost be similar. Now that's a credit to the Rose being a very good unit. But having heard this now over several systems, from the Klipsch La Scala speakers to the fine audio F704s, from a Luxman 509X integrated to the VAC special edition integrated tube amp, increasing in cables. In all instances, I've run the Aqua La Scala DAC from Italy with the upgraded NOS tube. So I've heard it over a variety of systems now. When you really start to sit down and listen to it, there is a significant difference. One of the things I noticed first is with the Antipodes, I actually had to turn the bass sublevel down a couple of notches. Not because it was artificially high, but I realized that with the Rose, the bass was so much softer and bloated and rolled off. Now I'm getting much better bass and lower octaves with the Antipodes. It was tighter, it was fuller, but not to the point of it being, I hate it when people say, oh, it's a vice-like grip on the bass. Well, that to me can be artificial at points, because music, unless it's purely synthesized music or purely made up music versus actual instruments, typically doesn't start and stop like a light switch. It has increases and decreases. So that was the first thing I noticed. One of the very first songs I played was Jose Carrera's Kiri, and when I listened to him in front of the singers behind him, whereas in the Rose, when the singers came up behind him, you weren't sure if they were shuffling, it was a blob of singers, they were there. With the Antipodes, you heard them inhale, you heard them exhale, you heard them start and stop at slightly different timing. It was individual voices in a chorus versus just a blob of voices. Now, absolutely, as I upgraded the gear, especially the fine audio speakers, this became more obvious, this became more prevalent. But again, this is the Antipodes offering all this insight and information available. Whereas with the Rose, regardless of system, regardless of speakers, regardless of cables, it was not there. When I listen to Holly Cole, Every Day Will Be a Holiday, love that song. The sax, I could actually hear on the sax when he was hitting his fingers and opening and closing the valves and stuff. I'd never heard that before. But it wasn't artificially detailed and spotlighted. It was just there. It was natural. There seemed to be more ebb and flow, especially with the Jose Carrera song and with the Holly Cole song. You found yourself almost kind of more swaying with it, just going with that more organicness and that more lifelikeness versus it being more analytical and hi-fi. Now, sounding-wise, the Rose is not analytical and hi-fi. However, it doesn't have that ebb and flow and that organicness that the Antipodes K22 does. Also with the Frank Sinatra, might as well be swing. It's with him and Count Basie. You know, it starts off kind of low and he's kind of singing. And then all of a sudden, all at once, the orchestra hits. With the Antipodes and my newer gear, it was a magnitude in terms of slam, in terms of just an absolute full throttle. They went hard on that. And just the absolute scale and dynamics I had not experienced before. It was really like, wow. It was just ready to go. So for me to notice the subtleties that it offered, that ebb and flow, and to still have that dynamic slam, which is the reason why I love that version of the song, was great to hear. I haven't found gear that can typically, a digital gear that can typically do both very well. The K22 really did. Elvin Bishop, Fooled Around and Fell in Love. Love that song. Never really listened to it much. I mean, it sounded okay. Man, I put it on the Antipodes and it just filled up the room. It sounded so huge and so alive and so organic. And I could hear the organ in the background and I could hear the instruments. And again, not detailed, instead insight. It was wonderful. It was just so musical. So where does that leave me in my thoughts on the Antipodes K22? For me, the Antipodes is in that realm of a select few pieces of gear that I've had come in where when I take it out and I put the rows back in, I say to myself, I can't do that. I can't go back to what I had before. Because in many instances, when you put in what you had before, it's not necessarily better or worse, it's just different. And that's okay. That's a personal preference thing. But to me, the Rose was such a huge step back. I know there's a price difference, guys. But for everybody who says digital sounds the same or that you don't need to upgrade your streamer, if you have a good system and you have it set up right and you can listen, I'm going to respectfully disagree with that. There's a huge difference. Would the K22 with the K41 or in essence the one box K50 sound better? I'm sure it does. By all reports, it's that next level up. Do I wonder about that? Yeah, of course. I mean, I bet you it'd be amazing. Having said that, the K22 is so good and allows me the flexibility of, and I'm going to put the image up here now where they talk about whether you run a USB or whether you run the digital cables. It's so easy to choose and gives me that performance so long as you're not looking to run like HQ Player or anything like that where you start wanting DSPs. That is, Antipodes does not recommend you do that on the K22, that the K41 or the K50 would be a better route to do that with its more power. Again, I'm not a DSP type guy. So yeah, that would be the way to go for you. But guys, again, going back to my 3 traits, amazing organicness and lifelikeness, excellent customer support and service in a company that's been around and is here to support you, and ease of setup, ease of use, it's the perfect trifecta. They've got it all in that regard. Do yourself a favor. If you don't have an Antipodes audio dealer, reach out to them. There's in-home trials. Your dealer will probably let you do that as well. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. But I will say this. It does need burn-in. It's going to need several hundred hours of burn-in. That's normal. That's okay. Don't be one of those people who gets it home, hooks it up, and 5 minutes into it says, oh, geez, it's not what I was looking for. My Aqua La Scala DAC needed almost 600 hours of burn-in on the ladder DAC before it sounded its best. It was mediocre for the first 600 hours. Now, I'm not suggesting the Antipodes needs 600 hours, but I am suggesting you need to put at least 200 or 300 hours on it to get your best out of it. So do it right. You're going to love it. At the price point of the K22, it's really competitive. It's really competitive. Guys, check it out. I'm really confident you're going to love it. I love the K22. It is absolutely an important piece to getting the best sound out of the system I have currently. Thanks, and see you on the next one.